Good morning. Welcome to our garden.
Good morning. This is John and Sarah, 2 Doves Bees and Gardens, and we figured we'd take you on a garden tour. This is now April.
Yep, mid-April.
Yeah, the weather has been fantastic, with some exception for the spring. Last Wednesday, we had a bit of rain. I think it rained 4.5 inches in about 3 hours, and we have a video on the channel. You can see what that looked like. Anyway, let's begin our garden tour. You want to take us around, Sarah?
Sure. Let me show you the newest addition to our garden. I am really excited about this. Gurney's came out with a heat-tolerant rhubarb, and I've got it growing in the pot here. I love rhubarb, but it does not grow well here in the south. I've tried before, and it starts off great in the winter and into spring, and then when the heat comes, it kind of fizzles, and by the end of the summer, it's dead. So I have high hopes for this one and hope it can survive. We have it in the shade of a pecan tree here, where it'll get some morning sun, but afternoon shade, and hopefully, I'm hoping it does well. We have another new plant as well. We got this the same time as the rhubarb. It is a pink lemonade blueberry, and the berries will be pink instead of blue. And so that's something fun we wanted to try. Growing blueberries here is a bit of a challenge. That's why we have ours in containers. Blueberries love acid soil. But where we live in North Texas, our soil is very alkaline. But we have found that growing them in containers is working well for us. The pot that it's growing in is just a mineral tub that we got from a local dairy farmer. They use the minerals for their cows, and he was selling the tubs. This was several years ago, but they were only $5 each. And for a pot that big, that's nice and sturdy, that's a great deal. This blueberry next to it is just over, this is our second year that we've had this. So a little over a year old. And look at all the fruit on it. This is our earliest producing blueberry. And it is doing great. It is just loaded. Here in North Texas, the recommended variety of blueberries is rabbit eye blueberries. They grow really well. Also, the southern high bush, I believe that's what this one is. Let me check. This particular variety is part of a southern collection we got from Burpee, and it's a southern high bush variety. And this particular one is called Jewel. But you can see they do really well here as well. Our elephant garlic, I just noticed this morning, is putting out scapes. So I'm going to want to cut these off soon so that it puts its vigor into the garlic itself. We call this area of the garden our hugel mound because we started it with logs and covered it with organic material and soil. This is where we put plants for pollinators and especially for our bees. This is an area where our beneficial insects can come and find food and overwinter. And we have a variety of plants, and the salvia is just putting on a fabulous show. Although I need to cut it back because it is just taking over the mound. This is a coral honeysuckle, and you can see it's huge now. But we had to cut it back because it was even bigger. It's a much more vigorous grower than I realized when I first put it in. But the hummingbirds and the bees love it. Our mint plant here is very healthy. It is time to cut it back, harvest it. We use it for tea, and It's just doing beautifully. You can see it's in its own little fabric pot here. Mint will spread and get into everything if you let it. Our yarrow and sage are just doing beautifully. I did not realize that both of these, once they're established, will spread. Maybe you can see some of the bees in the sage. They just love the sage flowers. Both of these plants are just over a year old, and you can see how much they've grown. In this bed, we are adding some new soil to the top. It's a mixture of compost and vermiculite and peat moss, and it has worked fabulously in the onion bed, which I'll show you in a minute. So we are going to each year add some more of this when a bed needs to be raised up. It needs some fresh soil. Anything that we can do to help hold water in the soil here during the summer is something that we want to try. It just makes such a nice fluffy mix. We haven't planted this bed yet, but we do have some volunteers. Last year we had sunflowers growing here, and the birds were loving the seeds, so I left them after they were through blooming. And some of the seeds, they must have dropped because these are growing. They're beautiful and we love them. The birds love them. I am very glad that we'll have some more this year. And then down here, we have a leek that has survived the winter. It was only like pencil thin, much too small to harvest in the fall. So it's still here, it's still growing, and it looks happy. We do not use chemical controls in this garden, with rare exceptions. Fire ants are an exception. But you can see the snail that's here. Not all snails are created equal. This one, I am actually happy to see that cone-shaped shell. That variety will actually eat other snails. So I am very happy to find him here. This area we call our flower trough. We try and make this just a focal point of flowers, something blooming in the middle of the garden, because we like to have it pretty. And I'm still deciding what to plant here. We have the yarrow that's just starting to bloom, and it's pink. I love it. And I'm getting ready to plant some plants. This is an aster that I started from seed in the fall. Here in Texas, asters are one of those plants that really do better started in the fall. So I'm really happy. Bees also love asters. Next to it here is a lavender plant. I've had it for 2 years already. The first year it didn't like where it was and it just survived. It didn't grow at all. The next year, last year, it was here and it still survived but didn't really grow. But now it's putting out lots of green growth and it's got a blooming spike. We'll get to see what the flowers look like. I am really excited for that. This is a petunia. We had these in here last year and they did fabulously. They bloomed all the way to frost. And so I am definitely going to put those in again. You can see these are our onions. I started these last fall from seed and they are doing fabulously. I started the seeds indoors and then midwinter planted them out. And they've had done very well. I think I'm going to do this again every year. Some of them are over 2 inches in diameter already, and I just couldn't be more thrilled. The soil that they're planted in, you can see the vermiculite. This is the same mixture that I was talking about in the other bed, and it has just done really well for them. John, come on over here. I want to show you something. These tiny white little eggs are from a lacewing, and when they hatch out, they are fabulous predators of whiteflies. It is starting to rain, so we'll see how this goes. In this bed, the kiwi plant is growing. I started this from seed 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know if it's a male or a female, and you need both to have fruit. But either way, the flowers are beautiful. Well, good morning again. We're back. It started to rain on us last time, so that's why we're finishing on a different day. Can you hear that? I hear a happy frog behind you. Anyway, yeah, I was talking about the kiwi. They come in male and female, and you need both kinds for fruit. Obviously, with just one, we're not going to get any fruit. But whether it turns out to be male, the male flowers provide pollen, and the female flowers provide nectar. So both are going to be good for our bees, and they're both beautiful. So I'd like to grow more and get fruit, but for now I will be happy just to see it bloom. These gorgeous yellow flowers are calendula, and besides being beautiful, they are wonderful for skincare if you make a salve. Next, we have some red onions. There's not as many of these because we don't use as many red onions, and you can see they're just starting to bulb. I started these later than the others. Yeah, on the base of the onion, there is a ladybug larva. I love to see the ladybug larvae because they are voracious predators of aphids, which we just happen to have some on these plants here going to seed. And I see another garden friend. Can you zoom in a little lower down? See the lizard? He's watching me. He is on a tatsoi plant that I have let go to seed. Tatsoi is an Asian green that has a really sweet flavor. They're in the brassica family, so they like cool weather, which means we only have a short window of growing them here in Texas. But I love them, and so we will get seeds. The bees did a wonderful job of pollinating these. They love the flowers. Next to the tatsoi, tucked in there, we've got some little Johnny jump ups that I grew from seed. I think next year I'll start those in the fall to get them a chance to get established, but they're still really pretty. And after I take the seeds out and remove these, they'll have more chance for light and nutrients, and hopefully we'll get to see them more easily. And next we have more onions. I tried to succession plant when I started them from seed. I did a tray every week or two. This bed and these are about 5 trays total. So these ones are definitely further behind, which will work out good. We'll have a longer onion season. Next we have lettuce. It's from a mesclun mix that we got, so I have no idea what variety it is. But it looks like they're all the same kind, which is unusual. A mesclun is a mixture. So anyway, it looks happy. Some of these are beautiful and healthy, and some are just coming back after getting eaten. So hopefully we'll get a few nice salads out of that. Towards the corner, you can see a small green plant there. That is a poppy. I had scattered the seeds and hoping that we'd get several. And we actually had 2 grow, but 1 died. I don't know why. Something probably ate it. And then the feathery looking plants in the corner are nigella. They have blue or white flowers, and this is my first time growing them, so we'll see how they do in the Texas weather. The next thing in the bed is radishes, and I did this section here, Easter egg radishes, and they have done quite well. Radishes are also a cool weather crop, so they're quick. They only take about a month, and then I can put in something else. These ones are Easter egg radishes, and then I planted these several weeks later, and these are purple globe radishes, and the seeds were so old that I wasn't even sure they were going to sprout. They were from 2017, but amazingly they're still pretty good germination. Looks like most of them came up. I'm really happy with that. When these are done, I plan to put sweet potatoes here. Okay, the flowers I have at the end of this bed are Shasta daisies. They're a perennial. They'll come back every year. I put them in last year and they did not bloom the first year. But this year, there's lots of blooming spikes, and I even see a ladybug. So hopefully we'll get lots of beautiful white flowers and even have enough to bring some in for cut flowers. In this bed, I have beets planted. They also like the cool weather, so I'm hoping they'll get done before they bolt, but we'll see. If I didn't plant them, I wouldn't get anything, so it's a test. This is an onion that survived last year. It wasn't big enough to harvest. We'll see how it does this year. In this half of the bed, I've got borage. Borage is a wonderful plant if you're not familiar with it. The entire plant is edible. The leaves and the stem taste like cucumber, and it gets these little blue star-shaped flowers that the bees just love, and they're also edible. A lot of people will candy those and use them as a garnish for desserts or drinks. Also, in between the borage, I have crimson clover. It's my first time growing this. We're putting it in as a cover crop. It helps add nitrogen back into the soil. And when it blooms, it will have beautiful red flowers that will be good for the bees. And also, I've heard you can use them for tea, and I want to try that. Okay, we tried a new kind of sugar snap pea this year. I believe they're called Magnolia tendril pea. And most of them have these beautiful little purple peas. They have beautiful pink and purple blossoms. And then they get these beautiful purple pods, although some are green. And we even have one plant that has yellow ones. Here in North Texas, snapdragons are good to plant in the fall. You can see they are just gorgeous, and they've had a chance to get established over the cooler winter months, and now they're just blooming beautifully. Love them. And then right next to it, we have a parsley left over from last year. And I don't know if you can see, I will tuck the branches down here. There is a caterpillar here that is going to turn into a black swallowtail butterfly. I love having butterflies in my garden, so I plant lots of parsley so they have plenty to eat and there's enough for us too. My family loves eating carrots, so I always try and grow a lot. They're challenging for me to grow here in North Texas because the weather can be so warm and they dry out quickly. Carrot seeds won't germinate if they dry out. So I've tried several methods to keep them moist. I've tried putting a board over the top. You have to lift the board up every day to check on the seeds because as soon as they sprout, you need to uncover them. But I had trouble with my seeds sticking to the bottom of the board, so when I'd lift it up, it would just pull them right out as soon as they sprouted. And that didn't work too well. And I also tried scattering seed starting mix in a thin layer over the seeds. But that didn't keep them very moist, so I didn't get very good germination. I saw a YouTube channel that had a thumbnail that said, increase your carrot germination. And so I tried that, and that was making seed tape, using toilet paper and spacing the seeds out. And it did a good job keeping them moist, and they did germinate. But the roots had trouble going through the toilet paper into the soil. And while they germinated, the plants, I lost many of them before they got very big. There's still only a couple left that I started that way. Here, where you can see there's nice even germination, the smaller plants here, I finally figured out that if you plant them deeper than it says, like more like 1/4 of an inch, they don't dry out and they're able to get established before the heat comes in. Carrots don't grow well in heat. If it gets very hot, they get bitter, so they're a plant that you want to plant in the fall or the early spring. I started these in the beginning of March, so I'm hoping they'll be ready before it gets hot. This here is chamomile. This is a volunteer from last year. Once you grow chamomile, it will come back. It reseeds very easily. Over here is another flower. I love delphinium. The only kind that we can grow here that can take the heat is the delphinium rocket, which looks a lot like larkspur. This is the delphinium called purple rocket, and I love delphiniums, but the only kind that we can grow here in North Texas is the variety called rocket. It's the only one that can take the heat. This is the first time I've been successful at getting it to grow in the garden, and I am really looking forward to see it bloom. Next to it here, we have our last breadseed poppy that I've trying to grow. They not only provide poppy seed, which we love poppy seed muffins, the flowers are big and beautiful, and the bees love them. Unfortunately, it looks like some kind of bug likes them too. I'm having trouble getting them to grow and not get eaten. Beyond me, in the middle of the bed, I've got beans growing. Let's take a look at those. In the middle of the bed here, I've got a row of pole beans, and they're just starting to climb onto the net. And then on both sides, I've got 2 different kinds of bush beans. In the gaps where the bush beans did not germinate, I put celery. I am really excited about this. It's my first time growing celery that I've had success. I've tried before, but this is the first time that it's grown. And it's a really good companion plant for green beans. So they're supposed to give vigor to both the green beans and the celery when you plant them together. So I'm excited to see how that works. This is a carrot that I am letting go to seed. I've read that when you let a plant go to seed and you plant those seeds, they are more acclimated to your soil, your climate. So that's what I'm trying to do, is get plants that are perfectly suited for our area. These are our potatoes. We really like growing potatoes in grow bags. It makes them much easier to harvest. So we have 2 different varieties that we're trying this year. We know we love the Yukon Gold, and we're also trying a white variety called Kennebec. 2 weeks ago, we planted 4 varieties of blackberries, a Primark Freedom, a Natchez, Wachita, and an Apache. And this one is just starting to come out of dormancy. Yay! So we probably won't get any fruit this year, but hopefully we'll get a good amount next year. We love blackberries. They grow very well here in North Texas. This is a dwarf mulberry tree that we just planted this spring, and the first berry looks like it's ripe. Oh, a little tart, but that's yummy.
So I get to wrap up the garden tour, but I have a few things to show you. This is our fig tree. This is our oldest fig tree. Over the past few years, we've grown to love, adore, become addicted to figs. And I'll show you more here in just a minute. But this fig is about 13 to 14 years old. It's died back to the ground once. I can't really say it died back to the ground. I cut it back to the ground once. It had some problems right after the big freeze we had here in Dallas-Fort Worth a few years ago. And below the fig tree, below every fruit tree that we plant around here, we put comfrey. So I don't know if you can see the comfrey here. We use that to make comfrey tea. It's a good fertilizer for our plants, and we also feed comfrey to our chickens. What you see right here is a terraced hillside that we've built. This is going to be an extension to our fig forest. Behind me, you can see some in-ground figs, 12 different varieties. Let me show you what those look like. Well, we terraced this hillside a little over a year ago, and we put in 12 different varieties of figs. This one here is a Smith, and this one here is a Black Madeira. This is a Chicago Hardy. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of different varieties of figs, and we like to try the different varieties that we can, especially if they grow well here in North Texas. All told, we have upwards of about 100 different fig varieties here in the garden. This monster here is elderberry. We've got a stand of elderberries going back here now. It's right by our chickens. Right next to the blackberries that Sarah told you about is our grape trellis. This is an unknown variety of grape. It was something that we were able to collect from some friends. Thank you, Jaima. We don't know what it is. We believe it's a table grape. And it's growing grapes. I have been training this for over a year now. It was kind of in a bush form when we first got it, and I've been training it, trimming it, and you can see it's filling up this trellis now. The trellis is 30 feet long and double wire, and this one right here I'll be training to go down this wire later as it gets bigger. Back here is my fig collection. We have a number of figs for sale. They're duplicates of other ones that we've had, and that's this group over here in front of me and next to me on my left, and then back behind me is all the figs that we're going to be keeping. Some of these will find their way over to the extension that I showed you for the fig forest. We have a bunch more. Let me show you just a quick view of the many varieties of figs that we were given from our friends over at the Dallas Food Forest Project. And if you haven't seen them, check them out on Instagram. Okay, well, here are all my baby figs, what I want to call them anyway. There's about 60 different varieties here in these pots. They were all started from fig cuttings, again from our friends over at the Dallas Food Forest Project on Instagram. He sent me a bunch of fig cuttings and we've had a bunch of success. So many different varieties. I'm looking forward to trying them all. Well, I guess that's where we're going to wrap up today's garden tour, our North Texas garden tour. We appreciate you if you've made it to the end and seen where we're closing this. We have so much going on and so many big projects. We'll be sure to bring you along with us, and we may have some big news coming up. I don't want to spoil it, and stay tuned for that, but some really interesting things coming up, and we will catch you next time.